Ever wondered how cartoon characters pull off those wild, exaggerated expressions in 3D and actually make it look good? Everyone talks about animation, but without a solid rig, your character's face might as well be a rock. A facial rig is what lets your character smile, frown, or pull off ridiculous squash and stretch without looking broken. And making it expressive without overcomplicating everything is a challenge a lot of us face. Today, I'm going to show you how I rigged Klonoa's face and some of the tricks I use to get cartoony expressions working in 3D. So whether you're into 3D, animation, or you're just curious how these cartoon faces actually work, stick around. Let's dive into chapter 1. To make this video more fun, I wanted to rig a character with strong cartoony traits. My viewers helped me pick Klonoa, and honestly, I didn't know much about him going in. When I first saw Klonoa's image, I assumed he was from Final Fantasy or Chrono Trigger. You know, floppy ears, big shoes, and oversized collar that doesn't quite make sense, but looks cool. It just had that JRPG energy. I was wrong, he's actually the protagonist of his own platforming series. And that design? It's like someone threw a cat, a rabbit, and a Sonic side character into a blender and then added a Pac-Man hat. I just love it. So to know him better, I played the Fantasy Reverie series, which is a remake of the original one. And by playing it, I learned that I'm very bad at platformers. I died over and over and over again. I was even on the brink of a rage quitting. Knowing that this game was made for kids made it even more frustrating that I couldn't play it properly. From playing the game, I learned that Klonoa is a kind-hearted, brave dream traveler. The concept is really well done. I liked it a lot. A lot of fans experienced this game as kids during its original release, which was made for PlayStation 1. By watching various YouTube videos, reading through comments, I realized that the PlayStation 1 version of Klonoa was far more expressive than the remakes. Especially in the original, his face just acts. He reacts with his whole body. The remakes looked cleaner, but the original felt more alive. Just look at how they introduced the moon castle in the original compared to the new one. It really delivers the serious tone of the situation. Or this moment when Klonoa looks at it and expresses anger towards Ghadius. I wanted to capture all that PS1 era's expressiveness and do my best to display it in my own version of Klonoa. With that being said, let's get to the next chapter. Most people rig facial expressions with shape keys. It works, but I find them limiting, especially if you're going for cartoony motion. If I'm being honest, I'm just not that experienced with making shape key rigs. So instead, I prefer bone-based facial rig. Bendy bones are what I use most in my setups. Cartoon characters commonly share one thing: bounciness. So let's say you want to apply that to a rectangle. If we scale a bone on one axis, it will just make the bone shorter. Instead, we use two control bones, one at each end, with a stretch to constraint on the middle bone. Now moving the top or bottom pulls it like a rubber. That's our basic stretch chain. But if you want to bend it, not just stretch it, that's where the bendy bones come in. Let me give you a brief explanation of how to set it up. First, change the bone display to bendy bones. Then, rename the bones so it's easier to follow. I named this one Tofu because it looks like tofu from Resident Evil. So our deformation bone is named Def Tofu, and the button controller is named BBS Tofu. BBS stands for Bendy Bone Start. And the top controller, we rename it to BBE Tofu, which stands for Bendy Bone End Tofu. Now let's parent deformation to the BBS. Then, to activate bendy bones, tell Blender how many segments you want. I usually put 8 for smooth curves. Each segment acts like mini deformation bone, so this means we have 8 mini deformation bones inside Def Tofu. In Blender settings, assign BBS and BBE as handles. Set both to tangent. Now when we rotate or move those controls, the bone curves with them. We're skipping the scale and easing features for now, just keeping it clean. Now we have the basic bendy bone chain. Mouths are one of the most challenging parts to rig. Cartoony expressions need flexibility, so I always ask myself two things. How detailed I want the mouth shapes to be? Can my topology support those shapes? For Klonoa, I imagined a Sonic-style mouth, one that moves freely and can be really expressive. I modeled the mouth with the spiderweb topology to help with radial deformation. Before rigging, I test a mesh using proportional editing. If it moves well, I know it will rig well. Once I'm happy with the mesh, I mark out my controller spots. Big orange equals main controllers, which is responsible for the broad movements. Small blue equals to tweak bones, which is responsible for shape refinements. Each controller follows the mouth edge loops. Then I build a bendy bone chain along each line. To keep things organized, I always follow these points. I make bones face each other, so bendy bone start and bendy bone end bones are grouped neatly. Colors help, dark for BBS, bright for BBE. I use .L suffix in the naming of the bones so I can mirror them when I'm done. Once the chains are set, I create tweak bones to parent each pair. Then I group them on the 4 master lip controls: top, bottom, left and right. These let me animate the mouse like a curve. Instead of using constraints, I built 2 large bendy bone chains for the top and bottom lips and parented the small ones to them. That gives a flowing, flexible motion. This kind of rig helps me achieve most of the shapes I'm aiming for. Even weird ones like waves, stars or trapezoids. If I can make those, I know it's flexible enough to handle the rest. Klonoa's eyes are not spheres, but they still rotate like they are. Lattice can help us achieve that. Think of lattice like water bottle or potion bottle that holds the shape of the liquid inside. The eyeball rotates and the lattice preserves the stylized form. The eye bone sits in the center and controls rotation. The track 2 constraint targets the controller bones so the eye always looks where we want. For eyelids, I created small bones along the lid. These are connected to mechanical bone that uses the damp track to follow a tweak bone. It helps the lid curve naturally around the eye. To move multiple lid bones at once, I use an armature constraint. Think of it like parenting, but weighted. For example, middle bone has the armature constraint. Left and right bones influence it. In results, middle bone follows both in a curved organic way. Think of it kind of like weight painting a vertices. This method requires one bone to act like an anchor. In my case, I used master top head bone. You can choose your head deformation bone, the main one, as an anchor, which works just fine. This lets me control the whole lid with one controller bone. Now to tie it all together, I added extra cheekbones outside the mouth loop for extra flexibility. To make sure the facial bones move along the mesh, I used a shape holder, a duplicate of the face mesh with limited deformations. Then I shrink wrapped the tweak bones to it using shrink wrap constraint. That way, when you move a control bone, it stays on the mesh. Same with the eyelid bones. I also created eyelid as a plane and give it a 2-bone chain, then shrink wrapped it to the shape holder too. Now you have an eyelid and eye border that can move separately. All bones are then parented to the head bone. I use master head top and master head bottom bones for tilt control, but that's optional. Reminder, if you're using armature constraints, don't parent those bones normally, you'll get double transforms. And that's pretty much how I conclude my facial rigs. Everything I shared in this video is just my way of doing things. It's not a studio standard method, but it works for me. This script took multiple rewrites to avoid over-explaining. I wanted to be clear, but not drown you in detail. If you want to use this rig or dig deeper into how it's built, it's available on my Patreon. I don't think many people made it this far, but if this video performs well, I might make this rig game engine compatible. Maybe even do a Lunatia design. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this gave you a few ideas for your own rigs. Take care and see you in the next one.